churches have not just been supported by white supremacy, they have served as its headquarters. I know you don't want to hear that. They have taught white people that oppression is godly and that power belongs to us.
Economic problem that we're facing in this country right now, student loan debt being just out of control, the government shutdown, SNAP benefits being cut, health insurance premiums about to go through the roof, your rent going up, your pay stagnating, groceries just being astronomical, is because reparations were never paid after the Civil War. Let me explain. After the Civil War, the Union, the North won and the South was defeated, but the South was never punished. The Confederacy lived on in the ideology of the people, of the white people of the South. Reparations were never paid to Black Americans. They were never really truly given the opportunity to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, to rise up and become equal members of this country, equal citizens. They've been fighting for their equality since then. They've never actually truly achieved it. So when white people hear a promise from Donald Trump et al. That we're going to run the country like a business, to them that sounds appealing. They're like, oh yeah, because you know what? I'm a business owner. I own this country because I'm white. When Black and brown people hear, well, we're going to run the country, run the government like a business, they understand what that means because they've been dealing with it for centuries. White people think that they are on the side of the owners, the masters, but they're not. Most white people have more in common with the Black and brown people that they look down upon. They are closer to them in the economic tax bracket than they are to the white billionaires whose asses they kiss. But listen to them glazing billionaires, especially on this app. I make $50,000 a year, but I have more in common with Jeff Bezos than I do with George Floyd. Bullshit! The only reason the lie of let's run this country like a business appealed to you is because you thought you would benefit. And now, here you are. Now, here you are, understanding that when they say we're going to run this country like a business, that means they're going to profit off of your ass. That means that if you take $100,000 loan out to go to college, you will be in debt to the federal government until the day you fucking die. You borrowed 100 grand? Prepare to repay 300 grand. Because they're running the government like a business now. And guess what? You're a customer, not an owner. The government exists to serve us, not to profit off of us. And we will continue to have these problems until y'all get your fucking minds right. 65% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 65% of Americans do not even have $1,000 for an emergency fund. More than that are 2 paychecks away from homelessness. The states struggling right now the most, the people in the states, the top 2 are both red states. Number 1 is Texas. The people there are struggling financially. The second state is Florida, another red state. The people are struggling. What do you think is going to happen when they lose their job in a couple weeks? They can't afford groceries. They can't pay their car payment. They can't pay their light bill. They're going to be up in arms. You and I know, because we're smart, know that it's going to be the regular average Joe that is going to be screaming in the street, screaming because of our government. Just remember, Republicans did that. Trump supporters did that. White people, it's time to talk about it. Like, it's long past time. Getting rid of other groups of people in this country is not going to make this country better. It's not going to make your life better. It's not going to make you better. I think white people are so scared to talk about race and to talk about white violence and white supremacy because they don't want to connect themselves to it. We don't want to feel like we're a part of the problem. But unless you're acknowledging the reality of how the U.S., this country runs, you are a part of the problem.
that journey is to dismantle systems that have been built to oppress other people. The hard work of life is to confront yourself. How do I benefit from the way that things are? And how does my benefiting from those things harm other people? And instead of walking around with, 1,000-pound bag of shame on your back, consider it your responsibility to do that work. Consider it an opportunity that you are in the best possible position to make this world a better place by not accepting racist and prejudiced and oppressive systems for what they are and trying to contribute to changing them. Use the privilege that you have for good. I don't think that anybody can ever really love themselves without being honest about themselves, without being honest with themselves. And that work is painful and hard, but it's so worth it. White people, you don't have to consciously think that you're better than other people in order to contribute to harm against them. All it takes to contribute to harm is to stay silent and disengaged. White people, can we finally get this shit right? Can we finally take accountability? Can we finally look ourselves in the mirror and decide that this isn't good enough? We're not doing a good enough job. You aren't losing because somebody else is safe and cared for. You aren't losing because somebody different than you exists. White people, let's talk about it. Let's start having these conversations with ourselves and with each other. It's time.
A lot of people are struggling now. Definitely. A lot of people are going through very hard times financially. And what happens is that people are starting to blame themselves, starting to feel that, oh, something's wrong with me. I'm not good at what I'm doing. And just blaming themselves for the situation. The truth is, you need to know that it's not you. Everyone's struggling now. More so, more or less. And you just show up, keep on doing what you're doing. Don't blame yourself for struggling on because it's the general economy that's not doing so well. You just keep on showing up, pushing, try to see where you can be better, and eventually the economy will turn around.
I can't tell you how many comments I have gotten like this one from poor white people. It's documented. This isn't an opinion. It's not, when I said that, I wasn't saying an opinion. I was saying a fact that is documented. The show was created for black and brown inner city kids. Because you have to think of the propaganda from 1969. And that propaganda from 1969 said that the only poor people who needed help were black and brown poor people. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's documented. It is documented from the creators that the people that this was targeted for, the audience that they were trying to reach, was poor black and brown inner city kids. If the target audience was for white children, even poor inner city white children, then the point of view of all of the characters would not have been from a black and brown perspective. That's that the characters wouldn't have been black and brown. The setting would not have been in a place where predominantly black and brown people lived. It is okay to enjoy content that is not made specifically for you. You can enjoy it all you want. It's still
creators make are not for the purpose of entertaining white people. Make it to entertain ourselves, and then because it's good stuff, everybody gets to enjoy it. The other thing about when black and brown people create things, often there's a huge level of inclusivity to it, because there's the theory that rising tides lift all boats. And since in this specific country, the people who get harmed the most are black people, when you do things to benefit the people who get harmed the most, everybody gets to feel the benefit of that. So if our country started to make rules and regulations to benefit the most vulnerable populations, which would be disabled people, children, the elderly, black people, not people of color, okay? Because there's still anti-blackness in that category. They're not the same category. But if we made rules to benefit the most vulnerable populations, yeah, everybody would benefit from that. Everybody. Rising tides lift all boats, and that's how community actually functions. But this show was not made for poor, white, inner city kids. If it was, then you wouldn't have had Luis, you wouldn't have had Maria, you wouldn't have had Spanish being taught. It was made for black and brown latchkey kids in 1969 and in the 1980s. And then, when it became popular in the 90s, and specifically in 2010, the marketing and the entertainment of the show shifted to be for a white demographic. But the originality of the show, when it was initially created, the purpose of the creation of the show was to bridge the education gap for black and brown inner city children.
I'm sorry if you think it's too early to politicize what happened in Georgia yesterday, but I will not allow the NRA to dictate how I talk about this issue that is impacting all of us. The majority of school blank and mass blank that are happening across this country are being committed by white boys. So let me ask you this. If you're a parent, white women, what are we doing? Because this year, in April, I got married, and in doing so, became a bonus mom of two beautiful little boys. And I have to tell you, every day we're combating messaging. Every day we're working on sharing emotions, expressing anger. We're working on things as parents to ensure that we are raising emotionally healthy, mature, communicative young men in the future. So I'm really concerned that that's not happening. What I'm understanding is that yes, this is 100% a access to pew pew problem. That as a culture, we are raising violent human beings. The overexposure and glorification of violence in our households has to stop. You have got to get a hold of what we are showing, teaching, exposing our children to, and being better, more present parents, because this is a problem in white households. So if we are white parents, we have to do something about it.
People frequently claim that immigrants and poor black families are living off the system. They're on welfare. They're mooching. But here is the truth. The majority of people on public assistance in the United States of America are white, and most of them have jobs. They just don't make enough money to survive without a little bit more, because wages are low, rent is high, a lot of jobs don't come with benefits anymore. You can't have a job without a cell phone. You can't even find a job without the internet. But it's not poor people who are eating up the most dollars in public assistance. Nope, it's the middle class. It's people who can take mortgage deductions, and of course corporations cashing in on subsidies. But nobody calls that a handout. SNAP, Medicaid, housing assistance, those aren't loopholes to help billionaires save some more money and line their pockets so that they can get more yachts or whatever they do with it. They're lifelines for millions of people. And here's the kicker. Those programs keep all of us safer and more stable. If you're mad that someone's getting help, maybe just look at why they need it, not just who they are. Think about this. A friend of mine said he grew up in a third world country, and he said that in those countries, petty theft and, pickpocketing and crimes like that are common because people have to do that to get enough money to buy food and to pay for a place to stay. That's going to happen in our country if we don't get curious about where the waste in our government really exists.
At this point, grocery shopping feels like a hostile takeover of my bank account. Every single time I walk into a grocery store these days, I start breaking out into hot sweats before I even hit the produce section. It's like anxiety got its own grocery list. Walk in there like, okay, I just need a few things. That's how you walk in. But it requires you to think about which bills you can accidentally forget to pay for. I used to love steak. I used to love tuna. Now I walk past both of them like they're a toxic egg. But I still think about them sometimes, knowing they're not good, my bank account. Don't even get me started on this thing, because y'all heard me talk about that before. Listen, I don't need snacks. I don't need them, but trees are so high now, I feel like I have to finance it to have them. I'm asking, can we get a payment plan, layaway or something, for a box of cookies maybe? At this point, it's ridiculous. It's honestly beyond ridiculous for some of it, and it's going to get more expensive. I be in the store staring at the price tag like it's some type of math problem that I'm supposed to figure out. If chips are $5.99 today, and if they go up, the price goes up every Tuesday, what's the likelihood that you'll be able to afford them next month? Answer, none. So now, instead of shopping for what I want, I shop for what won't make me cry at the cash register. It's depressing. No, it's not just me, right? What's the one thing you used to buy, but now you walk past it like, not today, safer?
White churches have not just been supported by white supremacy, they have served as its headquarters. I know you don't want to hear that. They have taught white people that oppression is godly and that power belongs to us by divine right. After the Civil Rights Movement, powerful white people, men, saw that their grip was slipping. Black people were winning court cases. Poor people were organizing. Women were demanding rights. How dare we? LGBTQ people were coming out of the closets. And the foundations of white male dominance were cracking. So they thought, what can we use that no one will question? In 1979, Jerry Falwell founded the Moral Majority. He said it was about championing family values. That was a lie. The real trigger was that the IRS had begun revoking tax exemptions for whites-only Christian schools. Those whites-only schools were created specifically to avoid integration. Falwell's own school, Liberty Christian Academy, was one of them. The platform of the Moral Majority ended up getting built around the issue of abortion. Although that wasn't the original plan, they basically test drove different topics to see which ones would resonate the most with the audience they needed to capture, which was white Americans, white Christian Americans. It had everything to do with maintaining the right to discriminate, yet still enjoy government benefits. This guy named Paul Weyrich, who was a conservative political strategist, he teamed up with Falwell to build a political base. He admitted that abortion had not really motivated white evangelicals until it became politically useful. Their real grievance was losing control over who could sit in their classrooms, walk into their churches, and live in their neighborhoods. Once they realized that abortion could strategy sessions. That's illegal. You're not supposed to be able to do that at a church if you're getting tax exemption. Ministers told white families that their enemies were not the wealthy elites exploiting their labor. They were not the politicians cutting their wages and stealing their pensions. The churches pointed to the poor, the black, the brown, the queer, the immigrant. Those people are the ones taking food out of your children's plate. They told white people they were being persecuted every time they were asked to share. And yes, I understand what it means for me to say this out loud. I know what it means to say that the church, something which is so sacred to so many, has been a central engine of the immoral institution of white supremacy. I know this will upset people. The white church has stood on the wrong side of every fight for justice in this country. Everyone. During slavery, it defended human ownership. During Jim Crow, it defended lynching and segregation. Christian church members attended lynchings and brought their children to steep them in that evil. During the civil rights movement, it defended denying benefits to black people. During the rise of Trump, it defended cruelty in the name of religious liberty, as if Trump has a clue. Some churches resisted, yes. There are liberal churches who have a strong history of being on the right side of these issues, but most didn't. Most chose comfort. Even now, white churches help elect leaders who lie, steal, incite violence. They wage war on education. They call justice wokeness as an insult. They are consuming a message that keeps them at the center with the elite in their minds. They choose white power over compassion, over empathy. One share shows you care about setting the record straight. Please share. Next time, I am going to talk about how Donald Trump did not hijack the system. He was groomed into it.
If you are not struggling financially right now, then you need to consider yourself completely blessed. Like, don't even consider yourself. You are completely blessed. Like, every time I check my local mom group on Facebook, I see requests or people asking where they can get some financial assistance to pay utilities or assistance with rent. And it's concerning because these people are working full-time jobs and they just can't make things work right now. For example, this morning, a woman posted she's an RN working 2 jobs and still is struggling. I know we're all complaining about how expensive things are. For me, personally, like my car insurance doubled in August. I was paying around $140 a month, and now I'm paying $280 for 2 vehicles, and I'm 1 driver. And I have never had a claim. There was no reason for the increase other than they just increased me. On top of that, Florida Power and Light rules the entire state of Florida now. They bought out Gulf Power, and since then, all I ever hear about from people is how astronomical their utility bills are. Everyone is trying to find ways to save money. But as soon as we save money in one area, something else goes up. So it's just kind of like we're sliding this scale back and forth, and it's actually like increasing. We're never saving. No matter how hard we try. Like, I stopped eating out with my kids. Obviously, eating out is super expensive, but I went almost a month no eating out, and it was still a struggle. And if you made it this far, I don't mean this to be like a pity party thing. I'm figuring it out, but last Friday, my birthday, my boss cut my hours in half. So yeah, I guess this is also like a PSA to people who aren't struggling right now. Don't be tone deaf, because you never know what's going on behind the scenes. If you start to notice behavior changes and lifestyle changes, I can promise you it's because people are being proactive or, I don't know, maybe reactive to their financial situation. It's just a mess.
Over 60% of America, they have less than $1,000 saved in their account, their emergency fund. That is the reality. What does that tell you? Literally, people are living paycheck to paycheck. That's the reason why you are seeing people have like 2-3 jobs and still they're not able to pay their bills comfortably. They're not able to save. They're not able to invest, to make investment. And majority of Americans' family, that's how they are living. So these SNAP benefits that are being cut for families right now are suffering. They're wondering exactly what to do. Which bill should I pay? Which bill should I not pay? Which food should I buy? Which food should I not? That's basically how people are operating right now in America. You have to choose which one is more important and forgo or leave out which is not important. That's basically families operating. So where did America go wrong? And can they recover? The reality is the current administration, the policies that they came with, these are the policies that are impacting people's life. For example, right now you're being told the 1%, or should I say the millionaires and billionaires, they're getting tax breaks. So they're laughing all the way to the bank. And these are the people who are owning those big corporations or big companies. And they're getting that tax break, which of course they can afford. Remember, for these rich people, when you tell them to add $100, $2,000 in their budget, they don't feel it, because at the end of the day, they have that extra dollars. They have those savings, which they have in millions and millions of dollars. While if you tell a person who lives in the middle class or lower class of America, who are depending on their paycheck to survive, if you add like $100 into their bill, they'll tell you, now I will not be able to afford, because this $100 bill that you've added to my budget, I don't have it. So now I have to decide between food or paying for electricity, or between paying for the health insurance or paying for the car insurance. So they have to walk away around that. And that's the reality of how Americans are surviving right now. It's painful, but it's reality. And then add insult to the injury. This tariff war that has been happening, that America put in place, is also affecting prices. Who pays for the tariff? Of course, it's the consumer. Yes, the goods will come in, the companies will pay for those goods, and once it arrives at the supermarket, those prices are going to increase. The increase in prices is basically you consumer paying for that tariff, that extra dollar that was incurred when the goods arrive in America. And right now you can see people telling you, right now the amount of grocery that I need to pay so that I'm able to take care of my family is expensive. I cannot afford it. So now I have to decide between buying junk food or fresh food, or I have to decide between buying certain foods and leave out other foods. That's basically how the middle class and the lower class of Americans are surviving. It's painful, but it's the reality. And these layoffs that are happening, yes, a lot of people right now, they are losing jobs. They are losing jobs left, right, and center, because companies right now, they are laying off, they're freezing on hiring, and people are wondering, okay, so if I don't have a job, how am I be able to pay my rent, or how am I be able to pay my mortgage, or how am I be able to pay for my car insurance or my health insurance, how am I be able to pay for my grocery? That's basically how Americans are surviving right now. And of course, the government shutdown, which has been operating for the last over 30 days, also federal workers are affected. We are being told some families, they're wondering how are they able to feed their families when they don't have money or they don't have any savings in their account. So they are forced now to do other jobs while they wait for the government to resume, while they wait for the politicians to come on the table and come up with an agreement so that the government can proceed and resume working normally. So basically, there's a lot of things that Americans are suffering, and especially the middle and the lower class. And rent is very expensive, mortgage is very expensive. That is the reality. So many people tell you rent, affording roof over your head in America is very expensive. So it's like you have a job, yes, but somehow when you pay all your bills, at the end of the day, you are being left with $100 or $200, and you're wondering, how am I going to survive for the next month, waiting for the next paycheck to come in. So people are wondering, what can they do? How are they going to survive? Of course, people have been told you can look for an extra job, alternative job, so that you can be able to afford an extra dollar, so you'll be able to pay your bills. Everybody is trying to work around that, but at the end of the day, companies are not hiring. They are freezing on hiring. So how are they going to get those extra jobs? So let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you guys, and let me know what exactly is in your mind, how you surviving, and please subscribe to my channel. And this is Nyashika Talk.